Welcome to High Capacity, the podcast that helps you expand your nervous system's capacity so you can have the career and the family and the goals and actually enjoy them. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a trial attorney turned nervous system strategist. If your life is full by every measure and your nervous system is feeling it, this is your show. Every Tuesday, I'm here to unpack the nervous system science behind why you feel wired, overwhelmed, and depleted, and give you real tools to actually do something about it. Let's dive in. Hey, it's Michelle here. Welcome to High Capacity. That's what we're going to be talking about today, how we can expand our capacity if we feel like we're always living on the edge of what we can handle, and any little change of plans or, any little stressor, an email, a call, something our kids are doing or spouse, it feels like it is too much, even though intellectually we kind of understand that we should be able to handle it. I've definitely been there, and we're going to talk about it today. So the way I like to think about it is I like to use the metaphor of a bathtub. So stay with me. So your nervous system, imagine it as though it were a container. Okay. So think of it like a bathtub. A bathtub, any container, has a finite capacity, right? There's only so much that your bathtub can hold. And when it gets full, everything spills over. Or when it gets full and, the faucet is off and it's completely full, it's like right at the brim of the top of the bathtub. If your kid would get in the tub or throw a toy or anything into the tub, right? Anything new that's added to that container, there's a spill. And that spillover feels like so many different things when we're talking specifically about our nervous system capacity. So maybe sometimes that spillover feels like overwhelm, right? It's like there's just too much. Maybe it feels like reactivity and we find ourselves feeling kind of snappy and we're not having the space to choose how we want to respond, but we're just going through the day reacting to everything. Or maybe it just looks like exhaustion. It's like I am holding so much, right? I've been at capacity for longer than my nervous system can handle, and there's a cost, there's a toll. Like I'm just feeling so depleted. Or maybe it's kind of like beyond that, and you've been holding it for so long that your body's way of dealing with it is just to kind of shut down or kind of like zone out, right? You're just like feeling very disconnected, and that's how you're dealing with all of that stress. That's kind of the flatness that we talked about last week, right? That wired and can't sleep feeling. Maybe it's a scattered feeling that just doesn't go away. You feel like no matter how you try, you like can't organize yourself. You can't organize your home, your tasks. It can show up in a lot of different ways. And the thing is that this isn't an innate character issue kind of thing. It's not like, oh, I'm just not cut out for this, or I'm not wired to be able to do this. It's not a motivation problem. It's not a discipline problem. You guys have heard me say that a lot. I'm going to keep saying it because we can be hard on ourselves because these things are frustrating, right? It's not evidence of any of that. It's not evidence that we can't handle it. It's just physics, right? It's like the container is full. And when I think about that metaphor of the bathtub or a container being full, as it relates to our nervous system and our own capacity, there's two reasons I see that this keeps happening to us. So the first reason is that the faucet is on full blast, right? If your tub has the faucet on full blast and there's all of this input coming in, eventually you're going to reach capacity and then you're going to have spillover, okay? And the same is true for our nervous system. We have all the constant demands of day-to-day life. We have super full schedules. Like, don't even talk to me about the mental load and all of the things that we're just like mentally keeping track of and aware of and planning for and making sure that we're stocked on and, all the things are done. The emotional labor, our own emotions, and then the emotions of everyone around us, right? Our husband's emotion, our kids' emotions, our coworkers' emotions, our extended family. Like, it's a lot. Stimulation, right? That's input too. All of the noise and the lights and all of the sounds and all the voices, like it's a lot. All the dings and pings on your phone and devices. Decision fatigue, right? Every time we have to make decisions, which all day long, that's input in our system. It's a tax on our system. And then just expectations, right? There's so many things we are expected to do by ourselves, in our workspaces, in our homes, with our families, in our communities. All of those things are things coming into our system. Those are the faucet. And I think for most of us, we can't really ever fully turn that off, right? There's always kind of something coming in. Sometimes it feels like it's at full blast, and sometimes it might feel like more of a steady stream or a drip. But one way or another, there's going to be input. That's just the nature of the lives that we lead. Emails are going to keep coming through. Our kids are going to continue to need things. Our businesses, the mental tabs, right, are going to keep being open. So the faucet is running. The water keeps rising. So that's reason number one that we feel like we're living oftentimes at or beyond our capacity. And then the second reason is that the drain is stopped. Okay. That plug is preventing the water from releasing. It's preventing the discharge the stress cycle to complete when we're talking about our nervous system. So emotionally and physically, our ability to release, discharge, and complete stress, you guys, that's the drain in our body. That's the drain in our nervous system. And for most of the women that I work with, they're pretty good about noticing all of the input, right? The faucet being on. And that's a lot of times what we focus on, these top-down approaches. We try to get more organized or more productive or work on our mindset or all those kinds of things. And it's helpful, sure. But there's not a lot out there to teach us how to release what's already inside. Okay, how do I release and discharge and complete this stress cycle? So the drain is either partially or oftentimes it's fully blocked for a lot of the women that I work with. What am I talking about? I'm talking about things like unprocessed emotions, right? Things that frustrate, annoy us, make us angry, feel really unfair, feel like too much. All of those big uncomfortable feelings, things we're disappointed about, grief we haven't moved through. Things that never got processed and felt and released and just kind of keep getting suppressed. And that takes a lot of energy to hold that in, okay? Stress cycles, right? A lot of us start the activation loop in the morning, probably before we even get out of bed, right? We're just doing the mental checklist of all the stuff that has to get done. Today, I know that was me for the longest time. So we wake up already activated. Our stress levels are increasing, right? But we never teach our body how to complete that cycle, right? How to have an activation, an increase in stress, but then how do we discharge that so we can come back to baseline stress level and not just continue to keep accumulating stress in our bodies. I'm going to call it poor for lack of a better term, but we don't have good tools or strategies or approaches to rest. So a lot of times we know we need rest, right? We're like, man, I'm exhausted, or it's been too much this week. Like this weekend, I really need to rest. But then we don't really know how to do that practically. We try to sit down or slow down or grab a book or, spend some time outside. But the minute we start to slow down, it's almost like the anxiety amplifies, or we feel even more kind of edgy or uncomfortable than if we just kept going all the time, right? So there's that kind of, that's having an impact also. We're not getting real recovery. So there's nowhere for that full tub of water to go. There's nowhere for the water to go. So what happens, it just keeps rising. And I think the thing that most people don't realize is that we're dealing with both simultaneously, right? For a lot of us, the input is constant. So the faucet is on full blast and the drain is stopped because we don't have tools to create space to release a lot of the things that we're holding. And that's why the tub keeps overflowing, metaphorically, right? Because no matter how hard we try to manage it, no matter how many systems we put into place and things we get optimized and organized in our schedules and what have you, we're not dealing with both ends of that, okay? So this is the part that I really want to sit with you today because it changes everything, I think, about how we approach this problem. A lot of times we're trying to solve a nervous system problem, a nervous system capacity and resilience problem with a productivity solution, right? So we're just focusing with the mind, and we're neglecting everything from the neck down that's happening in our body. So we're really comfortable with trying to like do better planning and get better routines and just be more disciplined. And it's like, oh my gosh, I need to try a new time management system. And those things aren't bad. Hear me. Some of them I think will genuinely help us turn the faucet down a little bit, right? But they don't clear the drain and they don't expand the container and they don't address what's actually happening at the nervous system level. So your tub keeps filling. And maybe we have some tools in our pocket that help us turn the water down. But at the end of the day, if that drain is plugged and your tub is the same size, you're gonna cap out, right? You're gonna be at capacity, and then we wonder why we're feeling edgy and exhausted and overwhelmed. And it's because we live in a world that wants to optimize everything. But the answer here is not optimizing. It's not more optimization. The answer is actually about expanding capacity. How do we make a bigger tub for you? How do we make your body, your nervous system bigger? Okay. How does it create more space so you can hold more without spilling over? How do we unplug the drain? How do we be strategic about what inputs are actually worth the faucet space they take up? Okay. And any of that we do intelligently, we need to know where to stand in order for us to do it in a way that actually makes sense. And what I mean by that is that there are certain things in your life that shrink your capacity. And I call those constrictors. They're just things that shrink your window of tolerance. They narrow your capacity, okay? And we've all had days like this. Like think of a day where a little thing just set you off, or all day long you were just super annoyed or edgy or irritable. On those days, you just had a really narrow window of tolerance. You had low capacity. So what are some of the things that contribute to low capacity? What are some of these constrictors? Well, low awareness of what your body is telling you. So not being aware of your body's somatic cues. Our body is always communicating with us, right? So if you're someone who ignores hunger cues and you can skip breakfast or work through lunch, right, and not even notice it. You have to go to the bathroom, but you have a meeting coming up in 30 seconds. So you're just like, I'm just going to hold it until after this meeting. Or you've had a headache for 3 days and you're just like having more coffee instead of actually listening to what that headache might be trying to communicate to you. Low awareness of your body's cues will shrink your capacity. Being unable to complete the stress cycle, that will shrink your capacity. Suboptimal basics, okay? I'm talking about, are you getting enough sleep? What's your nutrition look like, right? How are you hydrating your body? Are you moving your body? Are you getting sunlight and fresh air, right? You're like a little plant. Are you getting the most basic things that we need in order to expand our capacity? How do we cope with stress, right? A lot of us have inadequate coping tools. Maybe we rely on zoning out and scrolling or that glass of wine at the end of the day to cope with our stress. Does it take the edge off? Sure. But are we getting actually to the root of what's causing us to feel so to begin with? No, we're not, right? We're just kind of masking and using these Band-Aids, and those things keep our window of tolerance really narrow. They shrink our capacity. Poor emotional regulation. That is a huge one. And we don't talk about it enough. Suppressing and repressing emotions, especially big emotions, right? The ones that have a big energetic charge. I'm talking about frustration and anger and grief and sadness and disappointment, these really uncomfortable ones. If we don't have healthy ways to discharge and process those emotions and we just keep them stuck inside of us, that's going to shrink your capacity. Lack of boundaries, right? We've all experienced moments where we're like, oh man, I really can't be spending this much time around this person, or man, I can't really be picking up more projects right now. Or, I need to have better boundaries with myself around when I go to bed, or whatever it is. A lack of boundaries is going to shrink your capacity. Certain mindsets are going to shrink your capacity, right? If you live in a lot of urgency where you wake up and you feel like you're already behind all day long and you're just trying to catch up and you're always running late and you're always running around from one thing to the next, that's going to shrink your capacity. If you live in scarcity mindset, right? There's not enough time, man, there's not enough help, man, there's not enough money. Those kinds of things are going to shrink your capacity. Victim orientation to your circumstances, that's going to shrink your capacity, okay? The good news is that on the flip side of that, there are things that are within our control that will expand our capacity, okay? That'll give us the ability to be grounded and present and regulated, regardless of all the things that are happening around us, okay? So what are some of those expanders? What are the things that we actually have control over that can expand our capacity? And they're actually the opposite of a lot of things that constrict our capacity. So an expander is high somatic awareness, okay? Noticing what your body is communicating to you, responding and actually acknowledging your body's cues, the most basic ones, right? If you're hungry, if you're feeling a lot of tension, if you have to go to the bathroom, really basic ones. Tools to complete the stress cycle, right? How do you tell your body that the stressor has passed and it's okay, right? It's okay for us to stand down. It's okay for us to exhale. It's okay to soften all of that tension we're holding in our jaw and our shoulders and in our back. How do we complete the stress cycle? Optimizing all of those basics we talked about: sleep, nutrition, hydration, movement. No way around it, right? If we're not taking care of those basics, it's going to be really hard to feel like we've expanded our capacity. Effective ways to cope with stress, healthy ways to cope with stress, healthy emotional regulation, actually having healthy boundaries in place that we can communicate and enforce, mindsets that actually serve our nervous system instead of working against it. Okay. All of these things are awesome at expanding our capacity. So I think most of us know some version of this list. Like we know, the things that might be shrinking our capacity. I'm not sleeping enough, or I know that I need some better boundaries around my work and, what have you. I know that I get so frustrated with my husband or with my kids, but I don't know what to do with that until I end up snapping, right? I know my emotional regulation needs work. What a lot of us don't know is which of these constrictors is actually costing us the most, right? Which one are we most deficient in? Do we have the lowest capacity in? Where if we addressed it, right? If we put some intention and our attention toward expanding our capacity in this particular area, that would create the greatest shift across everything else. Where is your highest leverage move? And that's what we're doing tomorrow. So if you're listening to this in real time on Wednesday, June 3rd, I've been talking about this for a while now. I'm getting so excited about it. It's finally here. I'm hosting the Capacity Audit. It's a free live workshop. I would love for you to be there. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through a guided self-assessment across 5 different capacity areas. So we're going to look at your emotional capacity, your stress capacity, your physical and energetic capacity, your relational capacity, and then finally your capacity for joy. And I'm going to walk you through this in real time. It's not like a quiz you're going to fill out alone and then just interpret by yourself. But I have an assessment for each of these categories where you're going to just rate where you're at on in each of these areas. And it's going to be this live guided experience where I'm reading patterns as we start to see them emerge. And I'm going to give you some real-time insight into what they mean. So what does that mean for you? It means you're going to leave, one, knowing exactly where your faucet is running the hardest, okay? Where your drain is most blocked. And then we're going to take a look at hey, which capacity area is the upstream variable? What's actually causing all that overwhelm you've been feeling, or all that exhaustion you've been feeling, or how reactive and kind of irritable and edgy you've been feeling, or maybe you haven't been feeling much of anything at all and you've just been kind of numb and flat. I want to look and figure out what's going on upstream from that too, okay? And you're going to leave with specific practical tools that you can start working on immediately. And this is a kind of clarity that I think really changes how you start to move through your days. Because once you know which area is actually costing you the most, you can stop spinning your wheels trying to fix everything at once, which is too much, right? And start with really focused intention and start making moves that actually compound. So that's what we're going to be going through in the capacity audit. I think it's going to be the best hour you're going to spend all week because this type of insight is really valuable. And then I'm not just giving you the insight, but you're going to leave with some really practical tools for the area of capacity that you specifically want to start working on. Okay. And then during the workshop, I'm really excited about this too, because I've been building a brand new program and it's called the Capacity Method. And it's a 10-week program. It's nervous system based, but it's really designed to take you through a structured, supported process of expanding capacity across all 5 areas. So it's backed by the science, all the somatic body-based tools, live coaching. We're going to meet together every other week on Zoom as we go through all of this. We're going to be able to do it in community to be able to make these changes that actually stick from the inside out, right? Working at the deepest level. If we want to heal at the deepest level, we've got to work at the deepest level, and that's the nervous system. So the capacity method is not information. You're not just going to come and get a PhD in the nervous system. You don't need that. What you need is the integration, right? You need someone to say hey, this is some of the why, right? I do want you to understand some of the science and what's going on in our body and why we're doing what we're doing. But that in and of itself isn't what creates any change, right? I want you to actually do the work together with accountability in community. That's what changes your life, right? It's putting the stuff into action, having a clear plan of okay, this is what I'm going to do this week, and this is what I'm going to do next week. And we actually start to monitor and see your capacity expanding in real time, which means your life's not getting easier, but it feels easier because you're just able to handle it in such a different way. The small things feel like small things, right? They don't feel like big things. They don't take up all this space. So the founding cohort of the capacity method is going to open for registration tomorrow during the workshop. So if you've been on the wait list, you already know this. I've reached out to you, but everything you've been wanting to hear, if you're curious, you're going to hear it live. And if you're new to all this, come to the audit, right? Just see what comes up, see what surfaces, and then you can decide if the capacity method is the right next step for you. Okay. So the program will be there when you're ready. So come tomorrow. It's free. June 3rd, we're doing it at 12 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be live. You're going to leave with a better understanding of where you stand in each of the 5 capacity areas, and then where you should put your time and attention into expanding your capacity so you can really feel and experience the benefit of that. So you can register for the audit. There's a link here in the show notes, or you can head over to michellegrosser.com/audit. I'm getting so excited about all of this. I finished my slides yesterday. I'm just so ready for it. I think it's going to be really, really helpful. I can't wait to see you there. So go ahead and register, save your spot. If for whatever reason you can't make it tomorrow, but you're really interested in this, register anyway. I will send out a replay to everyone who registers. And if you can come live, obviously that's best. So try to do that, because I am going to be answering questions and coaching live, depending on what's coming up in real time in the room. Okay. All right. I'll see y'all soon. Take care.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't taken the What's Your Capacity Pattern quiz yet, that is your next step. It'll tell you which of the 5 capacity patterns is driving your dysregulation, your exhaustion, your reactions, your stress, all of it. So you know exactly where to focus your energy first. It's free. It'll take you 2 minutes. The link for the quiz is in the show notes. And then come back on Friday for one practical tool, the high cap move to take into your week, because putting the stuff into practice is what is actually going to change things. All right, I'll see you on Friday.